Alright, so I'm going to be making a video of how to inject testosterone correctly. Because I have seen multiple times where people inject the wrong way, and I feel like this is for educational purposes only. I am only doing this for educational purposes only. And I do not take part of any other thing other than a legally prescribed hormone. So, to any of you out there, this is not how you do anything else but this only. And it is a intramuscular hormone shot of testosterone cypionate, 0.5 cc, or, 0.5 milligram or milliliter. So this is for educational purposes only. Alright. And this is my trigger warning for any of you who just don't like needles, don't like shots, don't like any of that stuff. Please don't watch this, because this is a video about how to give yourself a shot correctly. So, I was taught by a doctor, and this doctor is very knowledgeable in how to give a testosterone shot correctly. So, don't do it any other way. I'm going to explain step by step how I do it. So, let's get started. And by the way, my shot day is on Sundays now. And this is really terrible lighting. I'm doing it on my phone, and all I have to work with is natural lighting. So, what I do is I do my shots in my thigh, and I switch from right to left thigh each week. So, it doesn't bruise as easily and as often, and I'm not injecting into the same leg, because it'll bruise, it'll hurt, and it just isn't good. So, what I start out with is, this is the 18 gauge, 1.5 inch needle. So I start out with this. And it comes already with the needle on it and everything, and you just screw it on so it's tight, and then you take your testosterone, which is usually in a prescribed bottle like this, depending on where you get it from. I get mine from Show Hackers. So you take it out, and it's in a little bottle like this. It's in a vial, and you take an alcohol pad, swab, whatever, you open it, and you take it out, and you swab the top part of it, either once or twice across, it doesn't matter, I just do once, and you let it dry. And while you're doing that, you take the needle that you already opened with the caps, the protective cap still on it. You take that, you make sure it's tight, and you take this part off, and then you just sit this down, wherever, somewhere where you can reach it. And you also want to make sure that you have a sharps container. A sharps container, it just is where you put the needle at when you're done with it. And you can drop it off anywhere, I believe at any Walmart or Walgreens or any pharmacy. They'll take them. Do not ever throw your needles in the trash. It's okay to throw this syringe part in the trash, but not the needle. So then you draw up in air the amount that you're going to be injecting, which mine is a half of a cc. So you draw that up, and then you tip the vial upside down or sideways for now, and you push it in, and you inject the air into the vial, because it will create a negative pressure if you don't, so you won't be able to draw out if you don't inject air in. So you inject air in, and then you put the needle into the serum, and you can take your time, making sure that you don't draw up any air. It gets harder to draw the right amount as it gets lower without drawing up air. And you want to put the top of the plunger at the line that you need it. So the top of the plunger here needs to be at where you need it. So mine is a half a cc. You do not draw from the bottom part of this plunger. That's not where you do it at. So once you're done with that, cap it and just sit it down. And then you take the 22 gauge 1.5 inch needle, and you switch the needles. So you open this a little bit, take it out, and then you remove this safety lid off of this one and draw a little bit of air like that, so the serum is down further, so you're not going to waste any of it. And then put the cap back on. Sometimes they don't go on very well. There. Put the cap back on, twist it off, and put it in the sharps container. And then put the 22 inch or 22 gauge 1.5 inch needle, whatever needle that you're given, which is usually a 22 gauge 1.5 inch, and you twist it on. Make sure it's tight. And now you have the serum still at the bottom, so you want to get all the air out. So you take the safety cap off, and what you'll need to do is you'll need to either flick the air when it gets to the top part of it or not. It doesn't matter, but you just draw all the air out. And you can take your time and make sure it gets to the needle part of it. And sometimes you'll have a small drip on the end of the needle. You can just flick it off. It's not a big deal. And then you have it ready to go. And then you put the cap back on. So all of your stuff is prepared. So then I just kind of clean up my mess a little bit. I put this back in that. And then you'll want to have a Band-Aid ready and your last alcohol pad. So I just get the Band-Aid ready, because sometimes you may bleed a little bit, and that is okay, because a little bit of blood means that you just accidentally nicked a capillary. A capillary is not a vein. It's a small. It is a vein, but it's a small vein. It's not anything that's going to kill you. So I'm not going to get nude. I'm just going to and today I'm doing my right thigh. So my last alcohol pad, or not last one, my second one, You just open it. And what you want to do is, with the alcohol pad, you want to measure from your hip bone, from there, so this is your finger, and then from your kneecap. So this is approximately right here where my thumb is midway from my hip and from my knee. So this is where you'll want to inject at, is midway across the hip, or into your thigh. If you want, you can inject into the top half of the thigh, or you can inject on the side part of your thigh, which is less pain. And it doesn't matter, you can inject up here or you can inject over here. Usually the biggest muscle in your thigh is this top part or this side, so you'll want to use either of these. So then you pick your midway point and you swab in a circle. And you just get the circle bigger and bigger. And it doesn't really matter how much area you cover, just a good couple of inches, and you let it dry. Alright. So, this last part is where you inject. You want to make sure that your leg is rested, but you don't want to tense. You want to make sure that there's no air bubbles. And you want to make sure that you're rested and that your muscle is not tensed. So scoot back in your chair if need be. And then you just want to rest your leg and be very at ease. What I do is I practice just breathing in a few times. I do get anxious a little bit, so you just want to make sure that you're not anxious or anything. So then you grab where you're approximately going to inject at. I have this like thing where I just kind of look for blue veins. I don't think it really makes a difference, but I just look for them and try to avoid them where I can see any. And you want to grab where you're going to inject. And you never want to go in at a up-down angle, but a little bit to about a 45-degree angle. Sometimes I do mine a little bit differently. You want to do the baffle down. The baffle is the pokey part of it. So you want to do it down. You want to squeeze the fat. And go slow. Now once you get to a certain point, you can let go slowly. And sometimes you don't need to push the needle all the way in. And right now I'm in the muscle. And you want to inject very slowly. But before you inject, you want to aspirate. You want to pull this plunger up until you see air bubbles. If the air bubbles come up clean, it means that you're not drawing up any blood, which means you're not in a vein. So then it's okay to inject. So then you inject slowly. Sometimes, I don't know why, but it seems like it's harder to inject. It kind of feels like the plunger is stiffer than normal. And then once you inject all the way, pull out, If there is a tiny bit of blood, it's not going to kill you. Take your Band-Aid and stick the Band-Aid on, and do not rub. Just apply like gentle pressure. Do not rub. Just apply gentle pressure. And you're good. And that is how you inject safely. That's how you're supposed to inject. Now, if it works for you to go a little bit faster, that's fine. But you never want to stab the needle in. Notice how I didn't stab. So don't do that. And I did my prescribed amount. So then once you're done with this needle, since I injected, you take it off. Sometimes it's kind of hard to get it off because I screwed on really tight. So then you take it off, and once again, you put this needle in the sharps container. And then this part you can throw away, or you can stick it in the sharps container if you want, but it just takes up room. So you can throw this part away, along with all the other trash. And that's how you inject safely. So, please don't, if you are watching my videos and you've never injected before, please don't inject like anyone else has, obviously, because that is not safe. Also, another tip that you can do, that I forgot to mention in the beginning of this video, is to put an ice pack on your leg to numb it if you're scared of the pain. It does not hurt. It just feels like a prick. If you just relax your muscle, it's not going to hurt either. But a lot of people forget to do that, so it hurts. But yeah, so that's how you inject safely. I know this video is really long, but I feel like this really needs to be addressed because I don't know how many times I've seen people or have heard people ask me how they're supposed to inject. And apparently doctors who have in the past told my friends how to inject, they have told them wrong, or that they don't tell them at all how to inject. So then they go home with this needle and this shit to inject into them, and they have no idea what they're supposed to do. So I was taught correctly by a legitimate doctor who knows what they're doing, and I have never had a problem since. So that's how you're supposed to inject intramuscularly. Now, if you're injecting into the subcutaneous fat, that is different. I do not know how to do that. This is not for subcutaneous injections. So, just letting you know. Alright. Peace, guys. And I'll make another update here soon.